Good afternoon! My name is Sea Canary and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm drawing some dragons because I realized that out of everything in the world, dragons are probably the thing that inspires me the most creatively. When I was really young and first learning how to read, one of the first books I picked up was Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funk. It's written by the same author who did Inkheart, if any of you know that. The book is about a young dragon named Fire Drake who learns that his valley that he lives in is going to be flooded. And with the help of a little brownie named Sorrel, he leaves his valley and goes to discover a brand new place to live for him and all of his fellow dragons. They go to a place, they're told to go to this place by an old dragon, and it's called the Rim of Heaven, and it's a circle of mountains in the Himalayas, or the highest mountain range in the world, which is the Himalayas. So they go to the Himalayas, and there they have to defeat a dragon who's been holding that place down for centuries and not allowing any other dragons to come back and repopulate. And it's a really fantastic story about adventure and like being true to yourself, if my memory serves. I haven't read through it all the way in years, but just last night I was listening to the audiobook that I used to listen to as a kid, read by Brandon Fraser, who was the main character in the Inkheart movies, which is and it fills me with such nostalgic bliss that I don't think I could ever be super critical about it, even if I tried to be. But it's a very, very good book, and I love it. After I read Dragon Rider, it kind of paved the way for me to get into the series of books called Dragonology, which I'm sure many of you have heard of before if you're clicking on a video that has dragons on it. They're these like field guides written about dragons, which is the wildest thing in the world and super creative and amazing, and the art is just incredible. Like the amount of detail that goes into each, like air quotes, scientific illustration of these dragons is just awe-inspiring. And I loved the way that these tiny little dragons that they would write about in the Dragonology Care Guide, which I had and flipped through a million times. You could see little hints of mischief in the eyes of all of these dragons and realize that like the author really did care about what they was writing about and wanted to instill that sense of wonder onto the audience that was reading. And I always really appreciated that because I read a ton of biology textbooks as a kid because I'm a huge nerd. And reading those felt like my textbooks, but about something that was really, really cool to me, like dragons. Like, holy shit, dude, did you know that amphitheaters live in the fucking Amazon rainforest and you can't ever see them because they have incredible camouflage and all this other stuff? And it was just so cool. And I loved them so much. And they made a DS game about Dragonology, which was the craziest thing. I had it, I played it. It wasn't very good, but it was still fun. Like, I would just restart it over and over and over again because the best part was getting your dragon and then doing all of the fun little mini games they had set up based off of the things that you can do in the things that they describe you can do in the books, which was so much fun. But anyway, we're 4 minutes in and I still haven't actually talked about what I'm drawing, which are still dragons. But I feel like it was necessary to have all of that background about me, about why I love dragons so much. These two are two of my favorite dragons from a pet simulator game called Flight Rising, and it's so much fun. It's Neopets, but for older people. It's a little bit more convoluted than from what I understand Neopets was like. I played Webkins instead of Neopets, so I wouldn't actually know. I started playing this in middle school a little later, and it's basically a game where you collect dragons, breed them, give them clothes, make them fight in coliseums, and create these like perfectly tailored dragons that are yours to do whatever you want with. Some people make really specific species out of them. Some people will make characters out of them like I did. And a lot of people just want to make money, which I never saw the appeal of because I just like having them more than I like, playing the capitalism game. But anyway, my good friend Jack actually just makes really aesthetically pleasing looking dragons, which is also super fun. Anyway, these two are characters in a sense. They were Zadeo, which is the blue sky dancer, so he's the one with like the feathery wings and the little beaky mouth. He's very cute. He's my baby. He's the leader of my clan of dragons and is very, not nervous, but apprehensive, I would say. And he loves to read and to study, and the world of Flight Rising is filled with magic. Like, I'm part of the arcane flight. So we all love to read and are giant nerds. And Zadeo in particular loves to study and is learning about the world around him. And his wife, wife, Katrina, who is the other dragon called a Ridgeback, is a lot beefier and stronger, and she does a lot of the hunting and protecting compared to her husband, who mostly spends time in the library flipping through books like a loser. The two of them, in terms of like actually character-based children, have 5. They've got the two oldest are twins named Garen and Mars, and then in between is Jacosto, and then there's 2 more twins named Juno and Tarini. And they all have their own characters and dynamics too, but they're not in this, so we're not gonna talk about them today. Beyond them, I have not a huge clan, it's like 24, but they're all concise characters that I've constructed myself, and I'm really proud of them and how they've developed, because I've had my Flight Rising account for 5 years now. I made it on June 3rd, 2014, I think. Yeah, it would be 2014. I've had it for 5 years, and seeing the way I've taken these dragons that I've had for 5 years and developed them into characters and with their own dynamics is always really inspiring for myself. Like, I appreciate what I've done in that sense. But beyond that, I've learned how the game works. Like, I actually know how to make money at the auction house. I know that breed change scrolls exist, and I know that I don't have to suffer with shitty genes. If my dragons have crap genes, I can just change them, and I could use a tricolor scatter scroll and just change the colors if I hate the colors. I haven't hated the colors yet, but it could happen. Oh wait, I remembered. I actually the first 2 dragons you get in Flight Rising are called your progenitors, as it were. And I got a little pink fae dragon, who I named Etheria, and her randomized mate, because the game gives you a random mate for your dragon so you can start breeding and interacting with the game, was a disgusting, like, ketchup colored, what was he? He's still the same breed. He's a mirror dragon. And he was super, super ugly, and I was so frustrated with how ugly he was. And their kids weren't turning out ugly, but I thought they were because I knew their dad was ugly, that I ended up exalting, which is basically getting rid of your dragons, and I ended up exalting them like a fucking idiot. And I come back, years and years after playing, and I realized that you can get exalted dragons back, and the first thing I did, this is like 5 years later, and I realized I can change the genes on my dragons. So I got them back, used a tricolor scatter scroll on my boy Gnorgus, and now he's super pretty. Like, I got a perfect roll my first time, and I was so happy with myself. And I ended up using that instance of, like, me doing something to the game for my characters. So my progenitors actually ended up leaving in the story of my clan for a significant amount of time before coming back and causing chaos, because they cause chaos. It's my dog's collar jingling in the background. Isn't that right, baby doll? Anyway, if you want to join Flight Rising, I'll put a link in the description. If you put me in as referral, I'll get bonus gems whenever you buy gems, which is always appreciated, because I've never bought gems in my life and I don't plan on it. All of my social media will also be in the description, so that's my Twitter, my Tumblr, my DeviantArt, and you're welcome to come into my inbox on any of them and talk about dragons incessantly. I'll be super down for that. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Okay, bye!